Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy and blessed Monday. Blessed first week of Lent. Yesterday being the first Sunday of Lent. Hope that your Lenten season is going well. Whatever sacrifices that you have made, whatever things that you are adding on to your routines, I hope that it is going very, very well. My Lent is off to a pretty strong start. No one's obviously perfect, but definitely one of the stronger recent starts to Lent, I can say. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Apologies for canceling last week. Towards the last minute there, I just found myself not really feeling like a stream that night, just mentally, emotionally. Nothing bad has happened or anything like that, but it was, one of those days where it's like, you know what? I think this is a day where I just need to kind of sit back and relax a little bit and not make myself go a little, go too crazy with things. But anyway, thank you all very much for that. And I also welcome to episode 597. I forgot to mention episode 597. Oh my goodness, getting close to episode 600 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast. Obviously, we have a lot of stuff to catch up on. Tons of stuff has been happening across the world. The Olympics are going on right now. My wife loves the Olympics, loves especially figure skating, so she's been watching a lot of that. I obviously keep tabs on certain events like hockey. Congratulations to the U.S. men's hockey team and U.S. women's hockey team, for that matter, for winning gold. Especially, in the case of beating Canada, always a nice thing to see happen there. And of course, everyone losing their minds because you can't have positive things to say in today's world amongst the crazy people out there about the United States for whatever reason. But again, that's awesome. So congratulations to both of those teams. And something apparently happened at the BAFTAs with someone who has Tourette syndrome saying a very naughty word towards people of color. Again, I think that ultimately when it comes down to it, there is a lot of rage baiting happening, especially on those that are the side of those that are claiming to be offended. Because ultimately at the end of the day, it's like, okay, the guy has Tourette's and it's very clear he does, and there were warnings and everything to that extent. I mean, what else can you really do? But again, people are going to try to rage as best they can. So lots of stuff. Not a whole lot, though, on the contrary, happening when it comes to the box office. The box office has continued to be very, very, very slow. Obviously, there's some positive news, I guess, for some films that are out there these days, but ultimately, it's been really bad. January is always the month where films go to die. February usually isn't all that much better. Every now and then, every few years, there's going to be a film like a Black Panther, for instance, or other films that get released, especially with them being themed towards Black History Month is typically kind of the mindset, which are able to do better and to kind of raise the box office up just a little bit, at the very least, because it's able to motivate, right, various communities to go up and show up to certain movies. But that's just not happening this year. And so we're just having some of the worst box office that we have seen. And this is all making way for a March that's finally going to see a film that I'm actually looking forward to in Project Hail Mary. So we'll see whether that film is actually able to live up to its hype, whether it is able to, make back its budget. So many things that we just don't have all the answers to. But glad to be back. Good to see all of y'all hanging out in the chat as well. Let's go ahead and say hello to the good people hanging out in the chat tonight. We got Snortopoopus Cuber. What's going on, Snortopoopus? Saying, hello, Humans and other quitteth. What's going on, Snortopoopus? The little Snortopoop. He then says, hello to me. The Banjo Sandwich himself saying, United Seven Kingdoms is awesome. And minor spoiler, though, it's not really spoiling much of anything. It's more of just like a random narrative note that even they tack on kind of like at the very end of this first season, because we also have that to talk about tonight as well, right? I finally have been able to watch all of the episodes, only six episodes, which is insane to me that the show has done so much in 6 episodes. Not the longest of episodes either. We're talking about 30 minutes, maybe sometimes upwards of 45 minutes. Very short, especially in the modern day and era of TV, especially in the whole Song of Ice and Fire universe, where we're used to hour-long episodes, whether it comes to Game of Thrones or whether it comes to oh my goodness, I don't know why I'm blanking out on the other show, but oh my goodness, y'all will help me out in the chat with that. But I'm blanking out tonight, just mentally exhausted. But this show is phenomenal. Again, for a show that is happening in a universe where you oftentimes see just, again, so much length of the episodes, it is refreshing to have that. But at the same time, I'm also so upset. I'm also so angry. I'm also so sad because I don't want to have to wait for more episodes. Now, I think the overall plan is to have this show out every year. Because you're making so little episodes, because they're not that long, it means that you can essentially release it. Personally, and this is just me, I wouldn't mind seeing it, every 6 months. That would be ideal for me. However, there's a limited amount of source material, and so maybe it is for the best that they don't rush things too much. But yeah, it's been great. It's a solid show. But as Banjo Sandwich was saying, again, minor spoiler, yeah, apparently there's 9 kingdoms, which, again, I find interesting. Because part of me immediately was like, I don't know I'm not an expert on the entire, world building and everything. I haven't read all the books or anything to that extent. So I'm like, so what 2 kingdoms went away, I guess? I'm not sure. Prince Screen saying here, hail Odin in chat. What's going on, Prince Screen? Thanatos Felicitas saying hello, Odin. Hello to you, Thanatos. Welcome back. Oh, saw someone mention in the comments the cookies. Let me go ahead and turn on Heimdall. Apologies. House of the Dragon. Thank you very much, Prince Screen. Appreciate it. Yes. House of the Dragon was the name I was looking for. I was like, it has something to do with the dragon. I'm just blanking on the name of it for some reason. But yes, because those episodes are also on the longer side, usually about like an hour or so, which is much more similar to the original Game of Thrones. So anyway, all right, Heimdall is now online to keep track of y'all's cookie counts. All right. Now we can head back into the chat. We got Guillermo Gage, who's already getting things started over on the Green Machine, leaving some rumble rants for $3 here, saying, remember 5 months ago when I said I would boycott paying money for any movie involving anyone who has signed that ACLU Jimmy Kimmel petition. I've been continuing that, missed a few movies. Yeah, I would imagine so. Honestly, that for me at least, that would be exhausting, because I would have to look at the cast list for every single movie and compare it to it, because there was a lot of people that did that. Now, again, if that's your way of being like, yeah, I'm just not going to watch any movies, hey, kudos to you. Guillermo Gage for another rumble rant saying, some of them I've been too lazy to pirate. A friend gave me a pirated physical copy of Wicked for Good. I haven't gotten around to it, even though I've seen the stage play this summer after the first movie. Yeah, I mean, the stage play is just infinitely better than the movie. As talented as Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are, because anyone who ever tries to make the argument that they're not talented, I'm sorry, but like at this point, like they're just so blinded by their own bias that they can't kind of recognize reality. Doesn't mean that they're good people. Doesn't mean that they are normal either, right? But they're very talented, especially when it comes to singing. So that's like the best part of it, really, honestly, is their singing and their vocal performances, because those are 2 people that actually can sing live, unlike many of the other people that oftentimes get featured in those things, right? So that was really the only good thing. Other than that, the stage show is just, again, infinitely better. And there's people that can sing nearly as well, if not even better than them. So, yeah. Keely Chow hanging out. What's going on, Keely Chow? Welcome back. We got Gandalf 1477. That's Kimberly G. Keely and Shadow Cat. What's going on, Kimberly G? Saying howdy, Odin, and hail the chat. What's going on, Kimberly G? Welcome back. Welcome back. Keely Chow saying, hail, Odin. How are you? Thor, Freya, Baby Sif doing. Also, how was your weekend? Weekend was good. Weekend was very, very good. And family was in town. My parents were in town. So that's why I had to bounce out of Friday Night Tights a little bit early this past Friday. I took the advantage of when Az was leaving. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I gotta go too. So other than that, though, everyone doing okay. Kids had a rough day at school, right? They're little. They're 5 and 2, and so they're having trouble with some listening ear stuff, sharing with the 2-year-old especially. So other than that, though, they're doing great. And both of them clearly had a very busy day because they're both already asleep, which is not very common, especially amongst the little Thor. Gamer Gage with another rumble rant saying here, I am still in OCIA, just did right of election. Very cool. Congratulations, man. That's awesome to hear. It's a very interesting time to be entering into the church. because obviously we had the entire reign of Pope Francis with all of its controversies. Pope Leo XIV has been much less controversial, but still also some problems, especially when it comes to the interactions that he's had so far with the traditional Latin Mass, because he says a lot of really great things, but then by keeping on people like Cardinal Fernandez and all of the nonsense with the SSPX, it's like, okay, I don't know really where to put you at this point, because you're just kind of all over the place, which also I don't think is very good. King Aiden Rumsky hanging out over on Green Machine. What's going on, King Aiden Rumsky? Saying, I screwed up my Lenten goals a few times already. Back on it, though. That's the beautiful thing about Lent, is that even if you fall off the wagon, even if you make a mistake, you can just start right back up again. Because when it comes to the things that we are holding on to, whether it's things that we're sacrificing, whether it's things that we're adding on to, in most cases, it's things that we're doing by choice. So it's not sinful, right? Let's say you give up chocolate as an example. If you give up chocolate for Lent, if you were to have chocolate throughout the season of Lent, you're not committing a sin by doing that, right? But it is still a good practice nonetheless to have that sense of, self-control amongst other things, which is why it's, one of those practices that a lot of people tend to take up on, right? So, if it's something like that, if it's something where it's like a bad thing that you shouldn't be doing anyway, kind of the same principle there. It's like, okay, well, not nearly as, not a sin, right? In the case of giving up chocolate, right? If you're like, oh, I'm giving up sinful behavior, right? But at the same time, you can still stop doing that sinful behavior the next day. And so you can keep up with it, right? And you can obviously continue to move forward. So that's why I love it. It's a beautiful season. It's also a great motivator as well. I find it a lot more motivating than all the New Year's stuff, right? New Year's resolutions and all that nonsense. It's less like, it's just so worldly, which is why I think it oftentimes doesn't last very long. But because Lent is kind of by its nature more spiritual, it has a much higher chance of sticking, right? It has a much higher chance of kind of getting to you. Not to mention that spiritual component makes it so that, if you make a mistake or if you fall off the wagon or whatever it be, you're much more motivated to kind of jump back on, because you're like, okay, this is, me trying to improve myself in the most important ways. Let's see. Kimberly G, who is a member here on the channel. Thank you again for being a member. Kimberly G saying, Odin, you need a day off once in a while just to decompress. Totally understandable. I appreciate that, Kimberly G. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was like just a rough day. Again, that's like not anything particularly bad happened. It was just, I was getting towards the end of the day. I'm like, I just don't think I have the mental capacity. Which is, honestly, it's most Mondays where it's like my brain is just, so fried, but... Geek True 64 saying, had a lot of days like that so far this year, Odin. Best not to force a video out if you aren't feeling it. Yeah, I mean, that's why I've limited myself to just 2 videos, like actual, like dedicated videos a week. Because I remember when I first started, I was trying to put something out every day, and it just was so bad for my mental health at the very least. It just was too much. And at some point, and also obviously because it was starting to eat up time at that point, early on in the years of my channel. That was before my kids were born, right? So it was something that I could do a bit more, but even then it's like, okay, but now it's taking more time away from my wife. These are very important times, right? You don't get those first few years of marriage back, right? And those are those times when typically, right, it's before kids and everything. So it's important, right, to kind of, that building of the bonds and that's, date night is a lot easier to do in that instance. How do you find a babysitter or anything like that? So very happy that I was able to kind of figure that out early on during that process to be able to kind of limit myself a bit more. And ever since the kids, especially, it's been like, okay, no, I can't do more than 2 videos a week these days. That's why some people are like, you don't do many reviews anymore. It's like, well, I still do reviews over on Critic Lists. And now actually, I will say, and shout out to worthitorwoke.com. worthitorwoke.com, a channel that I've followed. It's a website I followed for a long time. I remember when it first started up, right, as a kind of trying to be, much more of like a formal alternative to Rotten Tomatoes, because Critic List, obviously, very big fan of Critic List, still on Critic List, still shouting them out, of course, active over there. But Critic List is kind of always meant to be like its own thing, and it's meant to be, a competitor not only against like Rotten Tomatoes, but also against like Letterboxd and other things like it. That's why I love that community so much. Worth It or Woke has very much been like okay, no, let's actually create an alternative to, to Rotten Tomatoes. And so I was actually invited to be a part of the first group of critics that they are bringing in to be their Worth It or Woke critic list. And what's great about it too is that I can continue to do everything over on Critic List, and I can even link to my Critic List reviews as well. And to be a part of their, again, they're really treating it like, just like Rotten Tomatoes has it where, their critics will put their scores and then they'll link to their newspaper or their blog or whatever it might be. Worth It or Woke is doing the same thing. And so I really, really like that a lot. So I would shout them out, worthitorwoke.com. And again, shout out to them for inviting me to be a part of their critics class. So I'm still doing reviews, right? I'm still doing those things, right? But obviously when it comes to the video content, it's just much more limited. That's why people are like, okay, when is your video going to come out on like biggest flops? Because this, usually if I don't talk about during a live stream, the chances at this point, when it's not summer, especially, of me being able to make an extra video, especially one that deals with things like that, is not very likely. And again, it's not because I don't, not because I don't want to do it or because I'm tired of that aspect, because obviously I'm still very much obsessed, right, with movies and with box office and all those other things. It's just, unfortunately, time is of the essence. Vivander 807, welcome. Keely Chow tagging to say, are you ready for Elimination Chamber this Saturday? Didn't even know. Because, I'm like off and on keeping track with it. There's a couple of channels, like I've mentioned this before, WrestleMania. I know not everyone likes them, but I follow a lot of the stuff that he posts. So that way I'm, keeping up to date with certain story elements. But it's like, for instance, this is the first year that I did not watch the Royal Rumble live. Like, first year in a long time that I have not watched it live, because Royal Rumble is always the one that I'm like most excited about. I will say, though, the practical reason for that, though, is the fact that it was in Saudi Arabia, for one. I did not watch it because of the ethical issues there. It was more so because of like the timing, right? Because now you're on Saudi Arabia time, which is obviously not U.S. time. And so it's going to be at a very weird off time. That's just not going to be, feasible in that way. But also, again, I even if it was, I probably still would not have watched it, because it would have just, again, I'm just not at that same passion that I was. And unfortunately, AEW kind of fell off a cliff a bit. And so I haven't been watching that. I hear it's getting a little bit better in some ways. I know there's a lot of really cool crossovers. Like I know Tommaso Ciampa, for instance, just started up over there, and I love him. He's a great wrestler. But yeah. All right, let's see. Prince Green, who is a member here on the channel at 735, saying, with the BAFTA situation, the guy with Tourette's shouldn't have been there. At risk of sounding ableist, knowing that this behavior would be disruptive, having him there wasn't the best idea. Well, here's the thing, Prince Green, right? I understand that to a certain extent, but the fact that they chose to have him there, to me, means that it should have just already been either one, a no-brainer as far as the defense. Like, they should have been like, nope, again, this was a possibility from the very beginning, because he can't really control it with his tics. On the other hand, they should have also, had things ready to go as far as edits. Now, again, I don't know if this was something that affected the BAFTAs live. It sounded like it was just at the event itself it was impacting it. But, I mean, yeah, when they chose to have him there, they chose to take responsibility for the things that could be said. And, again, it sounds to me like there was an attempt to make people known, people aware, right, during the show, and also the people who were there, like the actual actors on stage that were, called that word from this person. But, honestly, I think the whole thing is being overblown. I really think it's being overblown. All right. And again, it's because people would rather take the opportunity to be victims. People would rather take the opportunity to rage bait than to just be like, okay, the dude who has Tourette's said things that he obviously had no real control of, and so why are we offended? Why are we making this as big of a deal as it is? Again, because people wanted to. Banjo Sandwich saying, binge this Game of Thrones classic. It's pretty good. Frank G, what's going on, brother? Saying, howdy, Odin. Curious to hear your thoughts on Scream 7 box office predictions. Rare for a seventh film in a franchise to potentially set a franchise record. Yeah, I mean, I care so very little when it comes to Scream. I thought the first one was okay, and then I haven't really watched or kept up with that series really ever since. So if I've seen one of the other films, hard to say. But But yeah, I have not looked at that yet, but I can pull that up. That can be kind of our first story, talking back box office, getting back in the swing of things. Before that, though, let me get to this Rumble rant from Guillermo Gage. Thank you for yet another Rumble rant, good sir, saying it was just Ariana Grande's name on the Jimmy Kimmel petition, and she put her name on after he came back on air back in September. Not sure if Cynthia Erivo would care. ACLU is America, Erivo UK. That's also true, right? But yeah, that's going to be one of those issues where it's just I don't know. Sounds like a little bit too much work, at least for me. But anyway, we're about to talk about some box office, which means there's going to be some numbers involved, and you know what that means.
Time to see a real mathematician at work.
That's right, everybody. It's time for some math. To see a real mathematician at work. And I know a lot of y'all were like, oh man, I need to get my fix in. I need to get my math video. And you got it. So over on Box Office Theory, right, a site I really enjoy. I really appreciate what Sean Robbins does there. And here you can have box office tracking that's going upwards to, first off, Universal Illumination's Super Mario Galaxy movie, which is expected to be the first $100 million domestic launch. So that could be the case, right? Coming out April 1st, kind of crazy. Coming out on April Fool's Day, but also not too far away, honestly, from this point on. Says the highly anticipated sequel was positioned as this year's pre-summer tentpole animated release, following an enormous success in 2023's Super Mario Bros. Movie, which drew a massive $574 million domestically and $1.3 billion globally off of a 204 5-day Easter bow in North America. Again, interesting that it is releasing around the same time. I think this is technically a little bit before Easter. I always, with Easter's date always moving around, I don't always have it directly in front of me, but definitely around the same time. So setting itself up for a lot of success, clearly. You then also have a film called The Drama coming out April 3rd, which, again, probably not going to be doing all that much box office stuff. And then some other updates it has. It says, we're still observing highly encouraging signs for next week. Crazy that Scream 7 is actually next week. As social buzz and pre-sales rival and exceed those of the best in the franchise. Projections remain volatile, as the series does tend to be a little more front-loaded in this pre-release window than other walk-up heavy horror franchises. Still, the odds of a Scream best domestic opening weekend continue moving forward of the Neve Campbell led and Kevin Williamson helmed legacy follow-up. Whereas for me, I'm all about Project Hail Mary. Tickets are now on sale. Expected initial rush from fans on the book, as well as cinephiles scooping up tickets in IMAX 70mm screenings. Ooh, I didn't know that. I don't think I have one of those near me, unfortunately, but yeah. All right. But let's go ahead and just talk about it, right? So obviously, the question was initially about what was going to happen with Scream 7. But looking at a couple other things. So first, 21 Pilots, more than we ever imagined. So if you like them, that's coming out next week, or this weekend. We have the wide release of Epic Elvis Presley in Concert. So this is a movie that did very, very well in the theaters it was out in. It was out a very small number, but it made like $10,000 per screen, which is a very good per theater ratio for the number of screens that it was available in. It's not looking like it's going to do that much money this weekend, which is interesting because it looks like it will have made more in that very small limited release than it will make in this wider release, which is, again, kind of a bizarre thing. I'm not used to seeing that. And then we get to Scream 7. Now, Scream 7, as you can see, is right now, according to Box Office Theory, projected to open between $45 and $54 million. Now, let's go ahead, and obviously this is from the past weekend. GOAT won the weekend up against Wuthering Heights. We did the full breakdown yesterday on my box office breakdown. Last night, again, had to delay things a little bit there. Really not a whole lot seems to have changed from then until now. But let's go ahead and pull up for ourselves Scream and see if we can look at their franchise to get a good idea. Now, again, these are also, one thing that has to be stated is these are all unadjusted for inflation, okay? And that, I think, is a key. Even though this film right now seems to be pacing towards a franchise best, it is still not going to be as successful by the mere fact that if you compare this to 1997 or 2000 Scream 2, Scream 3 respectively, that those numbers are that much higher when you adjust for inflation. So we're still not going to be seeing, honestly, the best performance of any Scream film, even if it does hit the heights of a $45 to $54 million number, okay? Now, we're obviously talking about raw totals, raw numbers, sure, on paper, and all the headlines and all of the news articles are going to run with it, right? Saying, oh, the best opening in franchise history. And then I'll just be there kind of like, you didn't adjust for inflation. That's not even looking at ticket sales. It's good. It's definitely not a bad opening. Having early projections this strong is a good thing, as Sean Robbins, though, kind of pointed out. Whereas a lot of times we talk about, being front-loaded. Typically, we're talking about like the opening weekend being front-loaded. It seems like for this, though, it's the pre-sales that are possibly, and history seems to be indicating this, that are possibly being front-loaded, which would explain why you're having the projections as high as they are. But again, according to at least the reporting of Sean Robbins at Box Office Theory, he believes that this could potentially be a little bit of a fool's gold situation where, yeah, it'll probably have a good opening weekend because those pre-sales cannot be just ignored altogether, but that they might indicate a much larger opening because of those rates, right? Typically, when you have good pre-sales and you have good walk-up traffic, that usually results in your, kind of better than average, better than expected opening weekend. But with Scream 7, we're seeing a higher amount of tickets being purchased already, which means less walk-up traffic, which could potentially, again, mean either just about the same or maybe even a little bit less than what your typical expectations would be. But again, 45 to 54 is definitely not anything to cry about. It's a very, very strong number. If we can just look up for ourselves Scream 7. So obviously a lot of people are going to be a part of this film. So obviously Neve Campbell is a part of it. You've got Isabel May. I don't know if she's been in the franchise before or not. Jasmine Savoy apparently has been since 2022. So, you got David Arquette who's back. See if there's anyone else. McKenna Grace is in it, interestingly. I don't know if she's been in it before or not. Matthew Lillard is back. Joel McHale is also there. Courtney Cox is there. So again, you got a lot of people from the original. So that's why I do think it's going to have a good opening, right? It's like, let me just not bury the lead there. It's going to have a very strong opening. The question, though, is it going to have the best opening of the franchise? Again, if you look at the raw totals, raw data, it's not going to do it, all right? Because even before doing the math on it, I can tell you that if you're looking at a number, according to thenumbers.com, of $34 million being made back in 97, 2000, you adjust those numbers for inflation, you're definitely going to be a lot higher than $45 to $54 million. I'm just going to say that right now, right? Not going to be too much higher than that, but still high enough to where it's not going to be a question, right? If you just look at raw ticket sales, not likely to be comparable in that same way. That being said, again, if you're doing better than your last film, which was 3 years ago, that already is a good thing, right? You typically don't see a box office like that go up, right? Because that would be a much more fair comparison, because not a whole lot has happened that would impact it, right? As far as like inflationary data between just a few years, right? When it comes to ticket sales, things like that, we're probably looking at a lot more of a close comparison. So the fact that it's already trending higher than the film from 3 years ago, that to me is the better indicator, right? That to me is actually the better sign of success. So yeah, this would be a big win for them, right? To have 7 movies in a franchise that started back in the 90s, right? Back in 96. Kind of crazy to think at this point that we're talking about a franchise that is 30 years old. I don't like saying that out loud. It just makes me feel old, because my 90s are my childhood, and that still feels like it's so close. It doesn't feel like all that time has passed by, and yet so much time has indeed passed by. So a 30-year-old franchise to still be making that much money, that's a good thing. For sure, that's a good thing. Now the question that I have, though, and they don't have the answer to it right now, is that they don't have the budget. So will this film have a similar budget to the others? Seems likely. Last film reportedly cost $33 million, before then, 24. So this has, been a franchise that has had a pretty manageable budget for the most part. And that's why it's been able to be successful, right? When you have a $33 million budget, you make $170 million globally. That's a good comparison. $24 million budget for 2022 Scream, kind of like the reboot, I guess you could say. picking things, back up, as it were, making $138 million. That was very good. Scream 4, $40 million, $95 million total. Again, probably the least profitable of, absolutely the least profitable of all of the films. I don't think I've heard too many great things about Scream 4. But so it'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting to say the least. Looking at a couple other things since we already have this on here. So Disney has apparently this is what Disney Pixar film, Hoppers, 22 to 31 million. That's abysmal. That's terrible. The Bride, which I think is another Frankenstein. I can't believe that there's all these like old school horror like monster movies that are being like remade or rebooted. So that's coming out beginning of March. So that's the week after that. So Hoppers versus The Bride, everybody, 15 versus 22. So the fact that The Bride, even with the little that I know about it, is going to be at least as far as the early indicators, competitive up against a Disney Pixar film tells you how bad Disney Pixar is as far as their current state at the box office. Let's see. And then Project Hail Mary, the one I'm looking forward to, that's not until March 20th. Not great box office. Let's be honest. A $42 to $60 million opening for a film like this, that's very low. Now, it seems like it's picking up steam. All right. It definitely seems like there's some, there's definitely some potential for it to be able to kind of, run away with it a little bit as well. But let's go ahead and pull this up. $150 million budget, though. So that's going to be the real question, okay? Is this going to be able to kind of change things? By the way, Greg Fraser, okay, he's been nominated for a Raven Award before for cinematography. That's a very good sign. Obviously, you've got Lord and Miller attached to the project. They obviously can bring a lot of great comedic elements to this. But yeah, Greg Fraser has been nominated at the Raven Awards for films like The Creator. And I don't remember if he got nominated for us for the Batman, but I think it was like Dune Part 2. I think it was Dune and Dune Part 2 maybe he got nominated for as well. And sure enough, he should have, right? Because he's a very talented cinematographer, clearly. So, lots of reason to be excited for Project Hail Mary. But when you're looking at a box office projection of 42 to 60 million domestic, unless this thing kind of runs away with it internationally, that's not a good start. And this, to me, is actually the bigger thing. Amazon MGM has really struggled. If you look at almost all of their movies, almost every single one of them, they've either, been a small flop or a large flop. They don't have a lot of small or even big box office hits to their name at this point. So I don't know what's been going on with them. Obviously, their typical budget spending seems to be out of control a little bit, but also it must be also their marketing, because, man, their films have been doing terribly. Unfortunately, there is no access, at least right now. Let me see if they give... Okay, wait. Actually, they might actually give it. Oh, never mind. Sorry. So he's got to make money somehow. And so if you want to get even more information, then obviously you've got to be a subscriber to his. And again, I love him, but not enough to pay. Not enough to pay. Because also it'll be free in a week. I can wait a week for a film that doesn't come out until April anyway. So anyway, those are right now the early projections and looks when it comes to Scream 7. Let's head back into the chat. Banjo Sam was saying, just hope Egg doesn't age like Stranger Things 11. Yeah, I mean, if they are going to do it every year, it'll not have nearly as much of that issue. One of the things that I thought was cool is that in the interviews they've been doing, right, which have been more recent, I think, he clearly is still that age, right? He's still a very young kid. So I think that they're already handling it well, because the fact that he's promoting a show now and it was clearly filmed like within the last year, that I think is a good early indicator, right? That you could see them handle that a lot better. It's going to be trickier, though, in the next few years, right? I think next year will probably be okay. But then once you get into 2 years, 3 years from now, that's when puberty hits. That's when the voice changes. That's when there could be some, again, aging issues that could pop up. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they handle that. King and Rumsky is saying, just talk to Steven. He wants to know how you, Freya, Thor, and Baby Sif are doing. That's not Steven. Come on, man. But Steven would do that. He would repeat everyone else's questions, so that's true. Print Screen, I would rather boycott movies that star people with ties to a certain dead billionaire. I think that would be a much better use of time and overall easier to do. King Adrumsky saying, I have a theory. Many people saying they have been tired recently, including me. Virus? No, it wasn't a virus. That would be scary, though. Tired virus. The Morak, howdy, Odin, chat. Hope everyone is well. Hope you're doing well as well. Morak. Always great to have you here. Banjo Sandwich saying, BAFTA ticked the inclusion box, and now they are paying. Yeah, it's one of the prices you can pay sometimes, especially when it comes to mental illnesses. It's like if there was an actor that was suffering from schizophrenia, and you're like, oh, we're going to invite him because we want to be inclusive. It's like, okay, well then, if he gets triggered in any way, then you take that on. Geek64 saying, have you seen Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die? I'm looking forward to seeing it. Not sure if I'll get to see it in theaters, but it looks good. Yes, I have seen it actually, and I like it quite a bit. And I'll go ahead and pull that up because that was also one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight. So let me go ahead and just transition this over to the Criticlist review page. So as you can see right now on Criticlist, it's rocking a 77% rad score from 34 voters. So clearly very, very popular. I gave it a 75. I thought it was a pretty rad film. For me, the issue is the third act. All right, the first act is great. Second act, solid, right? We're talking about very, very good storytelling. I cared about the characters. I was invested in the story. I was entertained. There were some really, really good, very, very cool moments, I thought. Then the third act comes in, and you start to find out a little bit more about like what's going on. And that's when the story gets, to me, a little too messy. Because even with the conclusion that you can kind of see coming a mile away, and the decisions they make, it still, with the way it plays out, makes you kind of scratch your head and say, wait a minute, how is any of this even real based on what has been previously established? And when you're starting to question the reality of the movie itself, that's a bit of a problem. Luckily, the very, very, very end, so not the twist and the zenith of the film in Act 3, but like the very, very end of the film, because it ends the way it does, is actually able to kind of, it's like it falls off the rails, but then it like hops right back on at the end. It doesn't stick the landing in a perfect way, but well enough to where I still walked away really enjoying myself. I think it's a movie you don't have to see in theaters. I would still recommend it because obviously I care for theaters, and to see it on the big screen, of course, I think would be a good thing. But if you wait for this thing to come out, I think that you'll also be able to enjoy it that way too. So, yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. Said, having heard so many good things about this film from several viewers, excited to be able to check this movie out. Happy to say, overall, the movie lives up to the hype in many ways. The film features great performances, especially Sam Rockwell, and a fun and often chaotic narrative that keeps you invested throughout, having a fun time along the way. Definitely some issues with aspects of the story, and sadly, a weak third act. But again, overall, enjoyed it. So I would definitely give that one a recommend. Print Screen, Elvis Presley in concert probably made more money because this weekend it was only on IMAX screens with more expensive tickets. That would make a lot more sense. Guillermo Gage with another Rumble rant, saying, I saw Epic Elvis Presley in concert in IMAX, liked it, historic footage, over 100 people in theater. It is, I think, basically IMAX exclusive for the first week. That makes a lot more sense. Let's see. The Morak saying, I got my Project Hail Mary tickets already. Both Monday Amazon exclusive preview and Thursday afternoon preview days. Oh, cool. I didn't know there was going to be an Amazon exclusive preview. That's nice to know. Geek True 64 saying, I actually think Scream 4 is one of the better Scream movies. Interesting. Maybe it was Scream 3. Because sometimes if in a series of movies, one film is really bad, the next one gets hit no matter what. Maybe that was what it was. Or maybe you're one of the few that thinks it's good. I don't know. Frank G. The 90s were 10 years ago in my head. Yeah, me too. Sorry, my dog is licking herself. You're not supposed to do that. Willow. But then I'm giving her attention, and then she'd be like, oh, but you were giving me attention. Give me more attention. She just nudged my hand. She's like, no, keep petting me. Well, I gotta click on this comment. Okay, there you go. All right, Hardwick, thank you very much for being in the chat tonight, saying, I've been hearing a lot of great word of mouth about Epic. The IMAX release was last Friday, and the general release is this Friday. Yep, mentioned that. Banjo Sandwich saying, in 10 years, Egg can be Lex Luthor. That's a very good point. Hardwick, do you think the Gina Carano-Ronda Rousey match is fair, or that Gina Carano has too much of a size-weight advantage? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the rules are when it comes to MMA fighting, so I would assume it's like boxing where there's like weight classes and everything to that extent. I don't know if Gina Carano needs to make a certain weight, so obviously she looks great, like she's in great shape. She's clearly lost a lot of weight that she had put on kind of in the wake of everything that happened with the Mandalorian. But she looks to be in great health, which is awesome. Shout out to her. But yeah, I don't know what the rules are. It sounds like it's an exhibition match, right? So I guess in exhibition matches, it's not nearly as important, right? Because it's not for a prize necessarily. My guess is this, right? In the case of Gina Carano, she's kind of been out of the fighting scene for a lot longer. Ronda Rousey, not as far removed. And even when she did leave, she was still involved in like wrestling and clearly still training. So Ronda Rousey has like been in shape, right? Whereas Gina Carano is getting back into it. So even if she has a size advantage is not always everything. It might mean more in MMA fighting for all I know. But I feel like what Gina Carano has in the size advantage, I think Ronda Rousey has in the like, what is it? The non-ring rust, whatever the word might be for it. But yeah. Caveat Ties, welcome, good sir, saying, hey, we'll be driving while listening. Well, please do that safely. Prince Green, Sam Rockwell is a seriously underrated actor. I completely agree there. There's a great film called Moon that he is in. And I highly recommend it. If you like sci-fi and mysteries and just very well done, like drama, very, very good film. Definitely agree, though. Very underrated. Other than this movie, which I think is right up there for me for one of my favorite performances from him, Moon might have been the next one. So, Banjo Sandwich saying, did you read X-Files is going black lead? I'm not surprised. I mean, it's a reboot of a classic series. Why would it not be? Thank the Lord that Gary only made us watch one episode of the reboot of The Burbs, which I personally like as a old 80s movie starring Tom Hanks. I actually like it quite a bit. And as soon as I saw the cast, I was like, really? And then the first episode leans so heavily into identity politics nonsense. You're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they actually did it. I can't believe they actually made that decision. Man. Geek True 64 saying, yes, Scream 3 is the worst one. Well, that would make a lot more sense then. Hardwick saying, I lost a lot of interest in Project Hail Mary after finding out that Milana Weintraub is in it. I'm happy to say it's not a name that I recognize at the top of my head. So she's the AT&T saleswoman? In 2016, after visiting Greece and meeting with refugee families fleeing the Syrian civil war, Weintraub co-founded a website and social media movement called Can't Do Nothing to spotlight the European migrant crisis. She supports the rights to abortion. Ugh. It's just stated that she aborted pregnancy as a college student due to financial concerns. I see. 2020, Weintraub was subjected to a wave of online harassment, some of it based on images of her that had been manipulated. Campaign began on AT&T's social media site, and the company came to her defense, stating, we will not tolerate inappropriate comments, harassment. Weintraub asked that the harassment stop in an Instagram live stream. I'm hurting, and it's bringing up like a lot of feelings of assault. Gotcha. I mean, clearly, anyone who does such a thing, right, that's, obviously grave evil. No one is beyond redemption. Crazy that she's almost my age. She's 38. Born in the USSR. Wow. Born in like the last years of the USSR. That's kind of crazy. But sad to hear that. So all we could do is pray for her conversion, ultimately. But she was not highly listed on that list of actors, and so can't say that it really impacts my overall feelings on the movie. Because here's the thing, especially with that part about, supporting grave evil child murder. Again, one of the worst things you can support. The fact is, if I were to make that decision on every Hollywood movie, I would have to watch almost nothing. Because I guarantee you there are leads and there are supporting actors in every film, every major film especially, where their beliefs on those things are not going to match up with mine. Which is, again, is a sad thing. But let's see. Banjo Sandwich saying, Gina has lost lots of weight not hanging out with Jay. Oh, man. Banjo Sandwich throwing some shade towards Jay. Man, oh, man. Maybe that's the reason. KK Rumsky, would you want Ronda Rousey back in WWE? No, the magic's gone. When she first came back, it actually was pretty cool. It was very well done. Like the initial first return and everything, but it just fell off a cliff very quickly, and they kind of ran out of ideas, I think. So Thanos is basically saying, for size advantage, I remember Thunderlips versus Rocky Balboa. Yes, in that movie. Geek264 saying, Moon is an awesome movie. Not too many people remember it. Also love Sam Rockwell in Galaxy Quest. Oh, yeah. He was also good in 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. So that was one that obviously got a lot of Oscars contention. It was one Best Picture, I think, too. But he was great in it. He was really, really good in it. But yeah. Moon is a very underrated film. It was actually a movie that I think my wife and I had actually seen, but maybe it had been a while. There was this card set that she had gotten me where the whole point of it is when you don't know what to pick, you choose a genre and then you use a coin to scratch off the name, and then you commit to watching whatever it is that's on the card. And so we got that one. We got to watch it again, and it was oh man, forgot how good this movie was. King and Rumsky. Speaking of Sam Rockwell, what do you think about Sam Worthington as an actor? Jake Sully? Is that Sam Worthington? Jake Sully? I don't think he's a very talented actor. Nothing against him personally. I just don't think he's that talented. Guillermo Gage. I remember when Sam Worthington was in everything for a while. He was in Avatar. Jake Sully. He was, if it's the same person I'm thinking about, he was in the Clash of the Titans movie that came out, the remake. He was just in a bunch of stuff, and it's he's just unfortunately not a talented actor. All right, Guillermo Gage, thank you for another Rumble rant. Saying here, I think that no one from the Michael Jackson biopic has any particularly despicable issues like Epstein or being too deranged in general. MJ himself, I regard, was not that way either. I guarantee you, if you really look closely, you will find something. That's just kind of the nature of things. Unless you're watching a very clearly Christian movie, and even then, you're not always guaranteed to find success there either. You're going to be limited to a lot of films, and unfortunately, most of them aren't very good. That's one of the biggest issues with a lot of Christian movies these days, for a long time, is they're just so stereotypical, just so stereotypically bad. Prince Green saying here, if anything, I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Gosling is pro-choice. He's never said so to my knowledge, but he gives off those vibes. Again, probably. If anything, though, I would, support him only because he is quiet about those, because it's, hopefully, and again, I don't follow these actors' careers. I don't look for every single interview they've ever given. I've just personally never seen any clips go around of him saying anything controversial. So seems to me like he understands, no, I got to keep those things to myself because it's not relevant to the movie that I'm trying to promote. The General Grievous 19. Hello there, General Grievous 19. Geek Truth, who's a member, saying, with Moon, it came out when I worked at Blockbuster. Only got 5 copies of it. I recommended it a lot. Oh, nice. I missed out on that. I missed out on being able to work at Blockbuster. So I never got to be that, because like that was the one thing. It's like if I was ever gonna work there, it would be because I would want to talk movies all the time and watch movies all the time, and then also give recommendations. So the best I could do was when I worked at AMC, because that was gonna be back 20. Was it between 2014 and 2016? I think I was only able to work there for a couple years. And working ticket taker was one of my favorites if it wasn't too crazy, like if it wasn't too crowded, because when it was crowded, people are so obnoxious. It's kind of crazy how obnoxious people can be. And ticket taker, it's like you just have no defense against it sometimes. But it was always nice to like have people like during the week when it was slow, because they would ask you like, hey, have you seen this? What did you think about it? And I was the guy that's like saw basically everything. And it was always fun to be able to like recommend movies and, you know, push people in the direction that they should be going. Banjo Sandwich saying David Bowie's son directed Moon. Ooh, I didn't know that. That's cool. Very talented director. Justin C. Evening all. Have you seen Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die? I already talked about it, Justin C. Yes, I have, and I liked it. Check out my review on Criticless. Let's see. The Morak. I haven't seen Moon, so I looked it up, and it's available on Tubi. Yeah. That's cool. Hardwick. Sam Worthington was one of those actors who got picked by Hollywood to be the next big thing for a couple of years, but never developed into a box office draw. Henry Cavill was the next one. Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of like, it shows you that when Hollywood tries to force the issue, it just doesn't work. Right? It just does not work, because people can smell it a mile away. Now, when the case of... Sorry, I'm just writing something down. In the case of Henry Cavill, he just so happens to be such a relatable guy, such a likable guy on and off screen, that even though he didn't get quite to the level that they were trying to prop him up to be, he was still able, and still is able, to have quite a successful career. Right? He may not be Superman anymore, but the fact that he's played Superman, the fact that people forget this sometimes, right? His, at least my knowledge of his character starts all the way back in The Tudors. I don't know if y'all remember that show, right? The Tudors from back in the day. And he was great in that show. And then to see, it's like, oh, the guy from The Tudors is being cast as Superman, like all that. So, you know, and he's still doing stuff. So it's really cool to see that. It's really cool to see when there's people who are so talented and also just genuinely seem like good people on and off screen. Not the fact that he's a nerd, which is also a huge benefit too. He's been able to kind of resist a lot of the fall off that Sam Worthington, for instance. Again, nothing against him as a person. He might be a very cool guy too, for all I know. But he was one that, because he didn't have that same charisma, was not able to really do much after. Again, obviously he's still in the Avatar franchise, but that's where he's been stuck. I mean, maybe he's done other things, but you're not going to really hear him talked about. Really, the only thing that you hear Sam Worthington talked about in any breath is going to be, oh, Avatar, Jay Sully. It's like, okay. But, yeah. I was writing, because a lot of people are showing interest in Moon. That might be a movie I have to buy some copies of on Blu-ray or 4K. Do a giveaway at another point in the next couple months. Let's see. Frank G saying here, I worked at Regal from 06 to 08, and I loved working tickets too. That was a fun job. Good memories. Yeah, absolutely. Box office was a lot of fun too. Probably one of my more favorite ones, because you at least have the protection of being inside of a box, at least where we were, because we had high enough traffic to where we needed to have at least one box office guy. Just to tell you like how low volume ticket sales in my region where I live right now, most of the time when I go to the theater, they both sell and rip the tickets at the concession stand. They do it all there. So it's like, okay, you have no box office person and no ticket taker. That's 2 less jobs, so you're saving money, right? But it's also like, oh man, like that would be a rough job to have to do that and to work the stand at the same time. Ooh, oh man. Working stand was never fun. Being one of the backs, because there was like not a bar back, right, but kind of maybe the same idea. being one of those was fun because then you got to go from like station to station, help them make popcorn, help them make drinks, and then you didn't have to actually interact with the people all that much. So that part I liked. It was when you had to deal with all the personalities in the concession stand, because when you deal with people's food, right? Man. I'm always been that person where it's like, look, I'm going to say something if it's wrong. If someone makes a mistake. But there are some people where it's like, if they didn't have it perfect. My favorite statement always was, this popcorn is stale. It's like, excuse me. Every night when we close, we literally throw all of the old popcorn away. Everything that you are eating was popped today and likely in the last hour based off of how we pop our popcorn. So spare me it's stale. It's like, okay. You can say it's not hot. You can say it's not scalding, but you can't say it's stale, okay? That was the one that always got me. And so there were some people that were like, oh, you see that one popping over there? I want the fresh popcorn. It's like, look, I get it. You're paying that much money for popcorn. Typically, it's like, okay, I'll at least go over there. But then they were like, no, I want you to scrape it as it's coming out of the pot. It's like, well, for one, that's like a safety violation because literally we're talking about boiling oil. And for me to like do that puts me in danger of getting burnt myself. So eventually when I had spent more time there and kind of picked up some things from other people, I eventually became the guy where I was like, no, ma'am, I'm sorry. That's actually a safety violation. And if you see anyone else doing it, they shouldn't be doing it. So I will not be doing that for you, but I will happily go to that one if you honestly think that there's that much of a difference. And then I would go over there and then I would literally mix it all up. It's like, okay, guys. Because part of me was like, look, you are spending way too much money on popcorn. It is way overpriced. It was hard for me to sell that. But at the same time, it's like the way that it was asked, usually that also impacted, right? If someone was so sweet, so nice and asked me, it's like, I'll do anything for you, right? I will walk you to the theater with your food and drink if you're nice. Usually it wasn't the case though. All right, Hardwick saying the best performance I've seen from Sam Worthington is Hacksaw Ridge. I forgot he was in that movie, but yeah. Worthington is a great name, is a great surname, says the Banjo Sandwich. Yeah, one could say that, Mr. Banjo Sandwich of the Worthington fan. Guillermo Gage, thank you for another Rumble rant, and I think we'll start to wrap things up actually because we're catching up with the comments section a little bit, but. Still got like maybe one or two things we can talk about. Guillermo Gage, though, thank you, saying Shape of Water won Best Picture for 2017, awarded 2019, not 3 Billboards, controversy about Rockwell's character being too easily redeemed. I think he was not meant to be fully redeemed. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Gotcha. I remember it was supposed to, it was like the favorite to win, or there was something like that. Let me see. It had received 7 nominations at the 90th Oscars. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This was like one of the last Oscars that I cared about back in 2018. That was when I was starting to like lose, like I started losing, falling out of love with the Oscars like a long, long time ago, but that was definitely one of the worst years. Because I hated that movie so much. It was so vastly overrated. It's also the year that Call Me By Your Name was nominated. That film is disgusting. Like, literally disgusting. It obviously is a film that put... oh my goodness, what's his name? Timothée Chalamet. Like, it put Timothée Chalamet on the radar for a lot of people. It was also before the whole... cannibal nonsense with Armie Hammer. That was supposed to be like kind of like the resurgence of Armie Hammer's career, and then all that stuff happened. But yeah, I'm now remembering this year. Yeah, Shape of Water was so vastly overrated. Call Me By Your Name, which was disgusting. Darkest Hour, which honestly, other than the performance by Gary Oldman, not all that great. Dunkirk. Oh man, can't stand Dunkirk, to be honest. The way the story is told is very bad. Get Out, which was fine, not Best Picture worthy. Lady Bird, vastly overrated. Good Lord. That's Greta Gerwig nonsense. Phantom Thread was terrible. A huge bore. I was sad that it was supposed to have been Daniel Day-Lewis's last ever role, and he has since changed that. I think it's because of what his son directed a movie until he came back. The Post, which was Hollywood and the media all just feeding into itself, is about the Washington Post, the Pentagon Papers, and all that stupid. Goodness gracious. And then Three Billboards, which actually was good, which was actually entertaining, which I actually liked quite a bit. But no, instead it went to Shape of Water. Stupid. Gary Oldman won for Best Actor. I like Frances McDormand won for Three Billboards. Sam Rockwell won for... That's interesting, right? That impacted the perception, and yet they still gave Sam Rockwell the Oscar for Best Actor. Get Out won for Screenplay. Call Me By Your Name won for Screenplay. Again, no surprise. No surprise. This is where we really started to be like, okay, guys, you're clearly playing politics with your winners here. Okay, clearly playing some politics with your women here. That's right. That's when A Fantastic Woman won. Isn't that the one where it's a guy? Is that what it is? Yeah. Young trans woman. So it's a man. It's a dude. Let's just be honest here, people. Man, yeah, that was like one of the worst years. Because let's see, what was the year before? Let's see, the 89th annual. Oh, yeah, it's when Moonlight won. That was actually funny because they gave it to the wrong person. But also had great Hell or High Water. Man, that was the best film of that year. The actual best film of that year. Or at least one. Again, there's so many films they don't nominate that I enjoy so much more. But yeah, so like that one was like, oh, but hey, at least there were some good things nominated. 88th annual Spotlight. Oh, so political. But this one actually had really good movies nominated. I liked The Revenant quite a bit. The Martian. Brooklyn was actually pretty good too. Bridge of Spies was pretty good. It's probably one of the last really good Spielberg films. Big Short was actually pretty good too. Like it actually dealt with the financial crisis in a way that I thought was pretty fair and pretty accurate. It's before anything became like too political. Like that was February 2016. So that's before the 2016 election. So I feel like this was like one of the last times that like the Oscars was still not great, but you know, because they still had like The Danish Girl, which again, guy dressing like a woman. The whole Ed Redmayne, but Eddie Redmayne didn't win. Leo DiCaprio won for The Revenant. Wasn't that his first Oscar too? But yeah, you keep going back. You're like, oh man, they used to make so much better films. Birdman, great film. Really enjoyed it. Boyhood was an impressive film. Overrated. Grand Budapest Hotel was phenomenal. Loved it. Then Selma got nominated. Really wasn't a good film. Whiplash, best movie of that year for sure. Hands down, Whiplash, best thing ever. But yeah, I think we can all go back saying, okay, there was clearly signs of really bad stuff going on at the Oscars for a long, long time. Moonlight may have been the one where it was like, when it was that big of a mistake, okay, clearly. And that movie was god-awful too. But I think that this one, for sure, this is the one where it's like, okay, guys, we're really starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel 2018. And then I just have not cared, really, I think, since then. All right, let's see. Hardwick saying, did you get the chance to pick up my package PO box? Dude, I tagged you on Discord and you responded. So you know I went to the box. Yeah. I literally said back on the 13th, 10 days ago. Wait a minute. No, you didn't respond. You didn't respond. Okay. I tagged you still. I tagged you. That's what happened. All right. 2 other people responded. That's why I was like, wait, I thought you responded. But yes, I got it. So I still actually have those right next to me. At first, I'm like, wait a minute. You're making me say this even though you already saw it. But yeah, thank you very much, man. So yeah, the Torchy Blaine collection. So he sent that to me. And then also the Lady Hawk rescored. So it's with apparently a more appropriate score. So definitely want to have to check those out. But yes, thank you, Hardwick. Appreciate it. Finally got there. I was happy they still had it because I was like, oh man, it's actually been well over 10 days and they usually don't hold on to packages that long. Justin C. Imagine if people argued over popcorn buckets like they do over popcorn. I want the fresh one on top, but not the display one. Oh, man. The whole popcorn bucket stuff, man. Geek Truth. That's kind of an interesting question. When was the last time you actually agreed with a Best Picture Oscar win? Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I don't think I've ever, like, fully agreed with a Best Picture Oscar win because, again, there's usually so many, like, better, independent films that just don't even get, any attention. Like, Spotlight only won because it attacked the church. Like, let me be honest, like, fully transparent, it's a very well-made movie, but it only gets attention because it goes after the Catholic Church. I agreed to it, so I liked the Birdman win because I actually really liked that movie. It wasn't better than Whiplash. Whiplash was much better of a film, but Birdman was still pretty good. So I was happy with that one. So that was back in 2015. That was the 87th Oscars. So that was like the last time where I'm like, yes, I actually somewhat agree here. Because then the year before that was the year 12 Years a Slave won. Interesting how no one talks about that movie. Like, this was that era, and we're still in the era, right? But this is like towards the beginning, I think, of the era where all these movies that were winning were films that no one saw, no one cared about, and no one has watched since then. Yeah, that was the year that Gravity came out, which I actually liked quite a bit. Oh yeah, look at this year. All right, you got 12 Years a Slave, American Hustle. Neither of those very good. Captain Phillips was okay. Dallas Buyers Club was actually a little bit better. Gravity, Her, very well written movie. Nebraska, great film. Philomena, okay. Wolf of Wall Street. What a year. What a year that was. It's also one of the last times that Woody Allen had a film that was even being talked about in any way. That was Blue Jasmine, which actually I liked as a film. But that was 12 Years a Slave. Did not deserve Best Picture that year. Year before that, that was the 85th annual, 2013. That's when Argo won. Remember? Because there was all the controversy because for some reason, Ben Affleck didn't get nominated for Best Director. It was that weird thing. Like, I remember when the nominations were announced, because that was when I was actually still, like, invested. I was watching the nominations live. That was, like, at the peak of my interest in the Oscars. And I remember when they released after Best Director, and everyone was like, they did not mention Ben Affleck. What? That's also why Argo won, by the way. Because it wasn't the best film that year. But also, that was the year, oh man, Beast of the Southern Wild. That garbage film. Ugh. Oh, so vastly overrated. In every way. That's when remember when they were trying to make Quvenzhané Wallis, who was the young girl in the film? They tried making her a thing, and then it never worked. Because she wasn't that talented. She was a child acting like a child and not even that great. And they were like, oh no, she deserves to be nominated for Best Actress in a Leading Role. Nonsense. It was literally so that they could make her the youngest nomination in the category. They wanted to make history with her character for politics. Silver Linings Playbook actually was my favorite film of that year. I actually really liked that film. But I was happy with Argo because of the snub of Ben Affleck. Again, as I said, when I go back in time, I'm like, oh yeah, this was back when I was invested in this. The Artist was the year before that. I actually really liked that film. That was the year of The Help. That actually was a film I liked. That was also the year of Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close, one of the worst rated films ever nominated for the Oscars. Gosh, that movie was terrible. Hugo, which actually was quite good. Midnight in Paris was my favorite film of that year, actually. That was one of the last great Woody Allen films. Moneyball was a solid film. Tree of Life was beautiful, but as a film, wasn't a fan. Warhorse was actually decent. But yeah, I could go on and on because, again, Oscars history at that point, that was like at the peak of my interest. Let's see. Print screen. Considering the plot, Call Me By Your Name, I'm not surprised how Army Hammer turned out. Yep. Banjo Sandwich. Nolan has gone off the boil. Banjo Sandwich then, Hardwick saying, there's a fan edit that combined Darkest Hour and Dunkirk into one movie. Ooh, interesting. Wayward Noodle saying, just got here. You catch that U.S. hockey game, Odin, Another Miracle on Ice. I didn't get to watch all of it. But the one thing that was getting me was the one image of the goalie with that amazing stick save where it's just like so close to making it and just, so cool. Print screen. It's also, and then also the final goal too, which was awesome. Print screen. It's also easy to forget Sam Rockwell was in the MCU. Yeah, I know, right? He wasn't given enough to do as Justin Hammer, but he was the best part in any scene. Oh yeah, him coming out dancing was so fun. Hardwick, in my opinion, the last really excellent year for movies was 2011. Yeah, you might be right. That's why I think that you have these pockets, right, of years where there's still solid movies, right? There's still good stuff breaking through when it comes to, like the mainstream stuff. Geek Truth, Hell or High Water was written by Taylor Sheridan. Pretty good movie. Yep. Yes, it was. He has only made, in my opinion, he's only made one bad movie. Like an actual movie that I really did not like. And it was the one with Angelina Jolie. I just hated that film. But every other film that he's written, great. Morak, Big Short is fantastic. I'll watch that usually once a year. Yeah, again, I think it's before all of the crazy TDS stuff picked up. And so you could have films that were still clearly like liberal, right? It was still clearly, anti-business, but it was also, that was when liberal and was a lot more differentiated between like modern day libertarian conservative principles, right? Because it's like, they're calling out Wall Street. They're calling out the big corporations and stuff. And it's like, oh, remember when things were a lot more simple, right? Back in the day. And it does a very good job. King of Remsky is saying, what was the first year of the Raven Awards? Well, we're on our 8th annual Raven Awards. So our first one would have been back in I think it was going to be for films released in 2018? It's either films released in 2018 or films released in 2017. Let's see. You can find that on my website. Yeah. It was Raven Awards for 2018. Yeah, it was the year of Avengers Infinity War. That was the year Green Book won Best Picture at the Oscars. It's all coming back to me. But yeah, that was the year of Infinity War, Mission Impossible Fallout, Aquaman, Deadpool 2, Spider-Man and Spider-Verse, Bohemian Rhapsody, Quiet Place, the first one. And my favorite film of that year was Bad Times at the El Royale. Oh, I love that film. No one gave it it got number 10 that year in the Raven Awards rankings. Made me so sad. That was also the year of A Wrinkle in Time and Solo: A Star Wars Story. It's all coming back to me. Geeky Truth saying, The Big Short is like Moneyball and The Founder, movies I tend to watch every year. Yeah, because it's just got so much data. Banjo Sandwich, the Project Hail Mary Popcorn Bucket is a spacesuit helmet. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Hardwick, the Torchy Blaine movies are mystery comedies about a crime-solving newspaper reporter. They star Glenda Farrell, my all-time favorite actress. She was also the original inspiration of Lois Lane. I don't know why I had to speak like a news person there, but yeah, I mean, that's what I kind of gathered from it. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much again for sending those. But yeah, we're all caught up there, so I guess I'll end with this, right? Night of the Seven Kingdoms is a very, very good show. I've kind of like hinted at that a bit as we've gone through, and I'll go ahead and just pull these up real quick. So I gave this series, now that the first season's over, an 80%, most excellent score. And as I said in my review, I'm so mad that the first season is already over because I want more episodes. Excellent first season with solid acting, writing, direction. Cannot wait for more, with really my only issue being the fact that it was so short. 6 episodes, very, very short. When you add to the fact it's 6 episodes of a show that's only about 30 to 45 minutes long each episode, it's very, very small stuff. And I also added my review over on worthitourwoke.com. Again, I am a critic now over there. I appreciate them for inviting me to become a part of their critic class. And right now, the overall score for the for the series is a B at 86%. Audiences say it's 100% worth it. Only 13% woke. Overall grade of an A-. And I think I'm the first reviewer over here to post this. That's based off 4 votes, by the way. And then for me, I put this as definitely a worth it. I definitely recommend it. Did not think it was woke, and I gave it an A. Solid A, 95% over there. Again, it's hard to like differentiate between the letter grades and the grades over on Critic List, but for me, a most excellent score is about an A. If anything, an A-. But it is a very, very solid show. It does still have, unfortunately, right, the random scenes of nudity, including, full frontal male nudity. So be warned about that. Use apps to help kind of hide that stuff if you can. But it is a very solid show. And it's so nice that we actually have a show where the hero is someone that you can easily support, you can easily love. His sidekick is also lovable, and that's not always the case when you have especially a child actor playing that part, because that child actor could easily play it in a way that people just don't like. But I just think that they did such a great job capturing that. The world building, the character building that they're able to do in such a short amount of time, it really is honestly impressive what they were able to do. So I know some people might be waiting off on it because they don't want to fall into the Game of Thrones trap where they give it a chance and then they give 4 or 5 years plus of their life just to be disappointed, just to be let down. So I understand if anyone's going to be waiting off for that, but I will say for a first season, it's off to a great start. Let's see. Guillermo Gage, thank you for the $1 donation, $1 Rumble Rant, saying here, I gave you $1 mentioning the Oscars for 2017, and now you're reviewing every Best Picture nominee from 2017 going back to 2011 so far. Also, 12 Years a Slave is my favorite movie 2013. Oh, dude, no, man. No. Acting is great. No doubt about it. Acting is great. Chiwetel Ejiofor is actually one of my favorite actors, especially in the modern era. His performance as the operative in Serenity is such a great performance. But if you want to see a great film with Chiwetel Ejiofor, look at the film Red Belt. Talk about an unknown film most people haven't watched. Red Belt. Great Chiwetel Ejiofor movie. But I'm sorry, no. As an overall film, 12 Years a Slave, vastly overrated. Let's see. Ether, what's going on? Banjo Sandwich, that site needs a 50% raid. Oh boy. The Banjo Sandwich saying, Egg is this year's Baby Yoda. With the difference being that he actually deserves it. Whereas Baby Yoda was really didn't deserve it. The fact that they did not put any money or any thought behind merchandising and having that stuff ready to go and having an actual plan, the Baby Yoda really did not even deserve the modicum of even just the smallest amount of support. So Geek True 64 saying best Chiwetel Ejiofor film is 2012. Just kidding, probably Serenity. Again, I would actually say Red Belt. And again, even though I don't like the film as much, 12 Years a Slave, his performance in that film is fantastic. Ether, thank you for tagging. Thank you, appreciate it. Favorite movie of all time? Again, my top 3 typically go 12 Angry Men, It's a Wonderful Life, and Casablanca. Those are usually the films all-time favorites that go back and forth. I watch It's a Wonderful Life every year during Christmas. And then Casablanca is always a film I can go back to as well. That's usually around anniversary time because there's a special meeting between my wife and I with that film. And it's 12 Angry Men might be the greatest film of all time, just how it's made, everything about it. And then again, I've got other favorites too, if I think of the 80s, Back to the Future, the whole trilogy is fantastic. More modern films would be films like Whiplash, Nightcrawler, a big fan of as well. So yeah, kind of all over the place. Hardwick says my favorite movie is Metropolis. Yeah, it's been on my list. I have it, but it's a film that, because of when it happened, it's not a movie I can just casually watch. It's a film that I have to kind of be ready to sit down and actually experience. So I haven't watched that one yet for that reason. But yeah, those are it for the comments. And obviously, I'll get any last minute ones that come in. But thank you all for watching tonight. And I'll just end with this about Season of Lent. Season of Lent has started. Great opportunity for us to buckle down, to improve ourselves, to think about what are some things that we need to change in our life, things that we need to maybe give up, things that maybe we need to add on. And it's a great opportunity, right? And what's great about it is that even if you missed out on the first days starting last week with Ash Wednesday or yesterday with the first Sunday of Lent, it's something you can jump in at any time. And I highly recommend it. It's a great opportunity for us to grow, not just to grow in faith, but also just to grow in knowledge of self and in the ability to recognize that we can improve ourselves and that we can be better people and that we could live up better to the expectation of being made in the image of God. So I recommend everyone to take and partake in the season of Lent, even if you're not Catholic, even if you're not Christian. It's a great opportunity for us to find that ability. Either with saying good night and please pray for me if you can. I'm going through some hard times. Absolutely. We have such a great community here as well. So you can be guaranteed that prayers will be heading your way from me and from others here as well. So thank you for sharing that, Ether. Definitely we'll be praying for you, man, and for everyone in the chat. So anyway, that's going to be it for me, everybody. So thank y'all very much for being great. Morak saying, thanks for the stream. Have a great week. Smash that like button and don't forget about don't forget to vote in the Raven Awards. Check out the link in the video description where I have the ballot. Just put in the code 1566-1566 to give you access to the ballot. But yeah, get your nominations out there. I am still planning to get some watch parties for the various films nominated. Only one person so far in the Discord server has actually responded with movies that they're interested in watching. So check out that channel on the Discord server if you are interested in potentially watching some of those. But yeah, now's the time to vote. I'll try to, play as many movies as I possibly can, so that way people can be informed in their votes. But fill out those votes, get those ballots in, and we're only about 3 or 4 weeks away, like 3.5 weeks or so, from this year's Raven Awards. So on March 15th, Sunday, March 15th, we go up against the Oscars as a boycott, and it's been great so far. Guillermo Gage saying, I only have seen 12 Years a Slave in the movie theaters before Oscar nominations back in 2013. Only once. Also, I'm a white person who doesn't care about slavery. Okay. Guillermo Gage, that's a little bit too much information, I think. But also, again, it's still an overrated movie. I recommend there are plenty of other great films from that year that are a lot better. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching tonight. This has been tons of fun, as always. You guys are amazing and beautiful. Have a wonderful rest of every day. A blessed Monday. Blessed start of Lent. And as always, God bless. And now for a special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off with Father Luca Illich. Hail to you, Father. Miss Martin Muses, check out her YouTube channel of the same name, Miss Martin Muses. And also to my YouTube member of the Chosen of Valhalla family, Mr. Roy, longtime supporter here on the channel, as are the others. If you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, please make sure to sign up over on Patreon, Subscribestar, or here on YouTube and sign up for that Chosen of Valhalla level. There's also other levels that will get your name shouted out in list form. You saw those names just beforehand. You also, if a Keep of the Bifrost level, get access to a giveaways channel that I host over on my Discord server, amongst a plethora of other things. And make sure to check that out in the link in the description below. You guys are all amazing and beautiful. Have a wonderful rest of your day. A blessed season of Lent upcoming. And as always, God bless.